Good, great evening to you. It's your girl Key. Tonight, I've decided to do a quick live about the importance of trusting your instincts. Because the reality is, when we don't trust our instincts, we can often, I find, end up learning tricky life lessons backwards. And I don't know about you, but the more mature I get, I would really much rather not learning them backwards. Would we have to want to, go down the wrong road and then have to learn the hard way? Sometimes we need to. There's value in learning things in the hard way. However, I am sure, as you go up in age, it's going to be beneficial for you to do things in a very different way. So I'm here. I'm happy to take any questions that you have about trusting your instincts and why you doubt them, why you may believe them, why you may not believe them, what that has been like for you. And if you're tired of doing things the hard way, feel free to ask your girl Key any questions you have about your instincts, because I guess I'm a fan of them. I guess life has taught me the more I don't trust in my instincts, there can be trouble. Shah, great to have you here. Any questions that you have, please do feel free to ask me them. I'm here. I'm trying to work this device by myself because that's just the way it goes sometimes. So, as we know, life is far from easy, and often so many of us can get ourselves in pickles, and it's okay. It happens to everybody. We all get ourselves in pickles. Some of us defy our own inner wisdom because we want to give people the benefit of the doubt. So we say, you know what? Let me not be awkward. Let me not be difficult. And we say yes to people. Sometimes when we don't, have you ever been in a situation where you know something's not good for you, but for whatever reason, you continue to go down the road, and when it kind of goes pear-shaped, you can sometimes be like, well, I kind of knew that might well happen. What is that about for us? Why do we need to learn the hard way? The reality is, for many of us, it's kind of interesting. Like, are we taught how to trust in our instincts? A lot of us, we don't believe in ourselves often. I'm sorry. That's the reality of the situations. When we fail to believe in ourselves, we're going to want to believe in other people. That's what often results. And when we believe in other people, this is one of the ways that people can violate us, because we deny ourselves and then we choose to believe in others, and naturally people can take advantage because that's what people do. So if you've got any questions, queries around trusting your instincts and why maybe that's difficult for you, then please let me know. Shah, would you say that having such great intuition can also be a burden at times, as you're more prone to second guessing and not taking risks? I guess how I see things about my instincts is, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is the fact that I see it as a journey. I don't see it as, you just get there and you arrive and it's all well and good. I think my journey with trusting my own instincts has taken me, it's still something I'm in conflict with myself about. And Shah, as we've done, Pain into Purpose, I think we have a higher self and a lower self. My lower self is based on my ego. My lower self is often, gripped in fear. Lower based self-thinking can often be about wanting to know all the answers. And when we come from that place of needing to know everything, often it's one of the reasons why we can become an overthinker. It's also one of the reasons why we don't take action. So let me think if I'm asking your question. Having such great intuition, can it be a burden? I think it's a journey rather than a burden. I see it more so as a journey, because sometimes I'm finding, that I'll be doing things years later that I knew I should have been doing before, but for whatever reason, I didn't trust in my instincts. Fear took over and I got incredibly sensible. And so what happens is, when you get sensible, you're going to often get stuck doing the same old, because there's safety in it. It's predictable. You know where you are. However, as we know, humans don't grow in our comfort zones. We actually stagnate and we can regress in our comfort zones. We're not tested. We don't expand in our comfort zones. It's through doing different things that, when I think about when I did stand-up comedy, like I had a few goes. It was actually those different experiences where, like I'm sweating now, like you've been writing this material all day long and then I have to stand up in an audience. Now I'm out of my comfort zone. And I think that's where you either thrive or you decline. And actually, even in the decline, there's always life lessons. So I don't regard having, trusting my instincts as a burden. I think it's a glorious way to live. And my instincts, I can get like downloads or inspirations to do things, yet I may deny it, I may put it off, I'll delay it. So there's a real true gift. I think they talk about people who, in terms of self-actualization, coming from your instincts can be a profound way to live. My mantra is I always go with whatever my mind says, and it has been beneficial on many, many levels. Yeah, well, the thing is about the mind, I think one of the things about often living in your mind is that you can miss out on a wealth of knowledge that comes from the body as well. So we know that the body has much wisdom. This is why body language is so communicative. That's why often as a psychotherapist, one of the things I pay close attention to with my clients is the way that they communicate. So I hear the words, but I'm more inclined to take in the whole person, because that's where you can sometimes see, there's much, if someone winces or just position and posture can give away a great deal. So, and this is one of the things that fuels anxiety. Let's have it. Let's be real. Like, one of the things about anxiety is often fueled because people perpetually live in their heads. They need to know, so they won't take steps, because until they can see that if I do this, if I take this action, I'll end up in this location. So because people have a need to know mindset, it can often result in people not taking action. It can result in inaction. So this is one of the big things about being in our head all the time. And as a psychotherapist, I'm very much encouraging people like, well, what does your body do? It's why on my Pain into Purpose course, I'm very much about, let's look at what happens to us when certain people ring our phones. Because we know when certain people ring our phone, it can literally take you into a very different place. And that is to be very much mindful of. Our breath, sighs, these are all very important communication streams from the self about people when they communicate with us. But the challenge is we don't trust the inner wisdom of the body. The body is always communicating to us. So we focus on our heads. And sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes we can tell ourselves some long-winded stories. And it's those long-winded stories that often stay stuck in our head that actually can have an impact on our well-being. It feeds things like anxiety. That's why one of the things about anxiety is to get out of your head, which is why body movement is so important. If you roller skate, that's a wonderful practice for assisting with anxiety, getting into the body more, which is probably why, like dancing is so helpful to people. Big up all my raving massive. That's the way it goes. It's your girl Key. Tonight, I'm taking any questions that you may have about trusting your instincts. For many of us, and I'll do personal stuff, which is that, when I've not trusted my instincts, I've often had to learn the hard way. And when I learn the hard way, when you kind of like, I always knew, but for whatever reason, did not trust in the self, did not trust in the wisdom within. Therefore, I had to go and have the experiences. And some of us will know exactly what I'm talking about because it's real out here. But for whatever reason, some of us have not been encouraged to believe in our instincts. We've not been encouraged to believe in ourselves. So ultimately, what happens is we defer to others. And we know that not everybody is going to have a great agenda for you. In fact, it's probably best you understand that most people have their own agendas in terms of why they may be in your life. And there's no problem with that. We all have our own agendas. But the importance of having your own agenda is fundamental to you. Because if you don't trust in your instincts, like I've said before, it means that you're going to trust in others, which I believe leaves you highly vulnerable. It's your girl Key, psychotherapist in private practice at Key for Change. I'm glad to be here, happy to take any questions that you may have, or if you want to join me live, I see Scotty is here too. Feel free to request a join, because these are serious topics that impact on people's mental health. And we know that we've just had Mental Health Awareness Day, International Mental Health Awareness Day, I think it was called that. And, you know, this is what I see time and time again comes up in the therapy room. We don't trust our instincts. We don't trust the wisdom within. And I'm not here to tell you that you develop this learning and insights overnight. It can take time. It can take time. But if you get tired of learning backwards, if you get tired of saying to yourself, I always knew, you know, I always knew, but the reality is you're not trusting in yourself. And when you don't trust in yourself, you're going to be susceptible to things like anxiety. You're going to be susceptible to things like depression, because when people do what they do, it's going to hurt you. Let's be having it. And I think one of the areas that always fascinates me about life is intimate relationships. And so if you're someone who doesn't trust your instincts, and you go about, this goes out for all my single massive, if you're seeking relationships, if you're dating people online, seeing people online, and you're trying to get a good thing going, if you're not trusting your instincts, be very careful, because people are not always true out there. Big up all the charlatans out there. Big up all the charlatans who act like they're genuine, who are making people, well, who are putting on a false self, and people are falling in love with you only to discover the reality of the bozos that they have fallen in love with. This is one of the reasons why we have to be very careful about where we put ourselves. A lot of us are jumping online for this dating game business. And if you don't trust your instincts, well, be careful. Especially if you've had a history of abusive one-way relationships. Give me a heart, give me a like if you know what I'm talking about. If you're watching this on the replay, why not share with a friend too? Because we need the help. And some of the things that I'm going to be talking about today, you may not hear when you traditionally think of mental health. But your girl Key comes from a little bit of a different angle, because I am very much inspired by the people. These are the things that are challenging the people. And so I think it's only right that we talk about it. And so, again, as ever, if you ever watch my videos, intimate relationships fascinate me. And like I said, my people, when you suspect sometimes that people aren't being genuine, if you challenge people about their lack of genuineness, and you don't trust in yourself, you don't trust your instincts, you're going to listen to their little stories, and you may well believe them. Or, just like my older self, I used to become a bit of a detective. That means I would then start to go, as Shah knows, we talked about it recently, we would go on a detective hunt to see if the person was lying about their locations. And as we get older, we don't want to be doing that anymore. We want to trust in our instincts. We want to observe people's behavior and work out whether they're real or fake, because we have to be careful who we give our energy to. Because when we give our energy to somebody, that is a gift, my people. We are gifting people with our energy. And so we have to be mindful about who we let close to us, because if we let the wrong people in, it can take us years to get over. Let's be real here. If we give our energy and become attached to the wrong people, it can take us, for us ladies out there, big up to all the men. I speak about a lady's perspective because I'm a female. What I would say is sometimes for us females, we can get attached to the wrong people. We don't trust our instincts. and it can take us years to get over it. It's just the way we're made. It's just the way we're made. It is what it is. And this is one of the benefits of trusting our instincts. However, we also need to be particularly mindful. We need to be mindful of a few factors when it comes to trusting in our instincts. Some of us are scared of being alone. And because we're scared of being alone, we may ignore our instincts. We shove it under the rug. Why? Because sometimes our instincts are telling us inconvenient information that you don't want to accept about your situation. And maybe you don't want to be lonely again. You don't want to be by yourself. So what do? You shut your mouth and you stay. This is just one of the reasons how we lead ourselves into situations where we blow our top and we ain't being our best self. Why? Because the person mad at us? No, because we let our own self down. We didn't trust our instincts. Anytime someone takes me into a fit of rage and anger, I'm always curious, what did I do to put myself in that situation? What did I do that meant I let myself down? This is just one of the reasons why your girl Key trusts and believes in her instincts. Because when I didn't, people would violate and I would get furious. And I would be angry at them. How dare they do this to me? How can they treat me this way? When all along, I did not trust in my instincts. So I set myself up for problems. That's why I don't want to keep going. If this speaks to somebody out there, give your girl Key a heart and a light, because it feels like I'm on my lonesome today. But that's okay. That's just the way it goes sometimes. But if you know what I'm talking about, please, I beg you do, because I know I am far from alone. And so that's one of the benefits of trusting in believing in yourself. Honor. A lot of us don't honor what our instincts tell us. And so because we don't honor what our instincts tell us, we are then putting our well-being in the hands of somebody else. And this is just one of the ways you end up being anxious, depressed. Next thing you know, you're at your doctor's surgery, and what do they say? Gobble some tablets, and apparently those will make you well. Well, the reality is we also need to be looking at our situations and our lives and who we have in our lives, because usually it's those situations that fuel the inner sadness. I got a little question here. Lanny, Unstoppable, Jam Rocker, Big Facts Key. Thank you for the love. I appreciate you. Please do share. Put it on your timeline. Let's get the international love, because Jano, it would be lovely to get to different parts of the world. I'm not even going to lie. Pampoodle, be mindful where we sprinkle our gems. They are precious gifts. If no one is worthy, continue to gift ourselves patiently until only God knows. There is much wisdom, Pampoodle, in your sentiments. But Pampoodle, what happens when you feel so lonely? What happens when you feel like you're always by yourself? And let's face it, some of us are really desperate to be in relationships, because we think, or we've been conditioned to believe, that if we're in relationships, all of those problems will magically go away, because we're going to find the person of our dreams and live happily ever after. Pampoodle, please, can you tell us about what to do about loneliness? Because loneliness is real, and a lot of us feel inadequate about still being single. We feel inadequate about our single status, and so sometimes we settle for crumbs. Let's have it. Some of us are settling for sawdust, because we would rather that than to be alone. As Karen White sings, it's a very good album, produced by Babyface. Anything Babyface, in my view, is always brilliant. Karen White sang a song called I Would Rather Be Alone Than Be Here Unhappy. And some of us have got to work that out. You've got to work out whether you'd rather be alone than unhappy in relation to somebody else. Here we go. Shah. There's an app called The Pattern, and my big digger shouted everything that you're saying about expectations and putting up and shutting up. I had to second guess if you'd written it. Wow, moment. Shah, inbox me that. I'm very curious, you know. I'm very curious about what you're speaking about. Please, the app called The Pattern. You know what? Maybe I should be getting into apps. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree. But are we always alone? Come on, Keys. You're deeper than that. Pampoodle, I need the love. Like, the challenge out there is, for so many of us who are single, we can end up being desperate. And people don't want to talk about the desperate side of singleness. The reality is the desperate side of singleness can have you saying yes to nonsense. Yes to nonsense. And we need to get real about that. The challenge, as Pampoodle has challenged me, is, are we ever really alone? You know, are you really ever alone? Well, it depends on your nature with the higher power. It depends, additionally, if you have purpose and meaning in your life. I believe if you don't have purpose and meaning in your life, you will be susceptible to common mental health problems such as depression and anxiety. Because often, for so many of us, we channel our energy into situations that we can't change. And trust me, if you keep channeling your energy into situations that you can't change, it's only natural that it will have an impact on your mental health. Why? Because you can't change it. It's pointless. It's a waste of your energy. But our egos are at interplay. And so because our egos are at interplay, you won't let it go. Because you think if you let it go, you'll be humiliated and shamed. So what do? You just hold on like, ugh. And all the while you hold on, you are doing the ultimate self-harm to yourself. That's why we got to have these conversations about choices that we make. I'm your girl Key. I'm a psychotherapist. I'm here to tell you there is much value and wisdom in trusting in your instincts. You trust them by beginning to take small steps. This is how you begin to develop that relationship with your instinctual self. There is a wisdom within. Sometimes you'll know stuff without knowing. And if you always think you should have a beautiful explanation, it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes if you trust your instincts, you'll have to learn backwards. Some of us have got to let go of certain people in our lives. And trust me, you might not know the answer today, but sometimes it'll take you years to get the answer. Sometimes it'll take a couple of months. But if you can trust in your instincts, sometimes you'll be like, boy, I'm glad I let that one out of my life, because you knew at some level, couldn't quite put your finger on it, but something wasn't right about that one. If you can learn to trust that part of you, there is wisdom there. Develop that relationship with yourself. And this isn't just about trusting your instincts in relation to other people. Sometimes it's even within ourselves. Sometimes we don't trust the part of us that, do you know how many years it took me to actually leave my job? Like years. Why? Well, maybe I wasn't ready. There's that is a good argument. But I doubted myself. I doubted myself for many years. And it took lots of violations, small little violations and insults to get me to the part where I said, you know what? I'm done. And so it depends how you learn, but as I mature, I'm finding it a fascinating life journey to just trust in my instincts more and more. Pampoodle, Mary J. Blige, Share My World, big tune. You know how we roll. Well, when it comes down to the baby face, no, what is it? It's going to be Mary J. Blige versus Toni Braxton. I think I'm Toni Braxton all the way. I know that may be controversial. Pampoodle, hold on to your detriment. But also, what about the pressure from peers and family to stay in toxic relationship rather than being alone? These friends may need to gently be disposed of. You are most right. It is very difficult when you are in circles where people, or even in cultures, your background might be that people want you to hold on, expect you to hold on because of what is expected of you. The reality is when you're suffering, it's only you crying alone in your bathtub. When you're driving at work and you're cutting up people on road, or the tears, you just can't stop. If you have that point in your life where the tears will not stop flowing, where you try to pull them back, but all your coping strategies are not working, or you find yourself crying at inopportune moments, like why would I just start crying at work? That means your cup runneth over. And if your cup runneth over, I would encourage you to start to think about getting professional help. That means a part of you is no longer able to sustain. So you need to watch out for that. When we find ourselves crying at inopportune moments, that in itself is a signal to you. So pay attention. I think, Pampudo, you definitely touched on a really important point about holding on to your detriment and, having people around you and then doing things to please those people. As I said, the key word there is people pleasing. People pleasing is a massive reason why a lot of people have got mental health problems. The reality is our circle matters. Who is in your circle matters. It's crucial. So you have to be mindful about who is around you. One of the things I talk about in my book, Why Love Hurts, is the importance of auditing your phone. Some of us have got to audit our phone. Some of the biggest mental health problems we have is just waiting in our phone right there every day. Some of us will know when you see their name on your phone, you get anxious. You'll see their name on your phone and you'll get sweat beads. You will see their name on your phone and you freeze. You don't know how to respond because some people are just damn tricky. Some people are unnecessarily difficult. This is all a part. Hey Claire, how are you? It's your girl Key. Please feel free to share. This is a really important conversation to talk about in terms of trusting your instincts. So what was I saying? I was saying that, I can't remember. I was talking about the importance of people pleasing. People pleasing is a massive factor that makes people depressed and anxious. So because you care about other people's opinion, you want their validation, could be your mum, dad, sister, we often can do what we know pleases others. But the reality is, if you're people pleasing, you're self displeasing. People pleasing results in self displeasement. If you self displease, you will become depressed. It's a simple maths. Simple maths. People please equals self displeasement. The longer you self displease, you will become sad, depressed. That's the way it works. Here we go. Religion sometimes ties us up to stay unhappy just to keep the community happy. It's a massive issue. There's a lot I could say about how religion impacts, and I think we know that there are lots of benefits to religion, organized religion, but we also know that there are expectations that can be put on people that are very difficult. And I think if you're someone who is doing it for the community, you need to know that often that can come at a cost which is of yourself. So the challenge is you're doing it for the bigger picture, and the result is the impact, the harshness. Like I said, when you're in your car and you're driving, you hold that all by yourself. And if you are in one of those situations where you feel so much external pressure, you know exactly what you need to do for yourself, but the external pressures keep you in situations where in your spirit, your inner wisdom, your intuition, your gut is telling you it's time to go, but you feel stuck. Inbox your girl Key. Let's have a conversation. You are far from alone. This is far more common than people think. And this is just one of the reasons why it's important to talk. Shah Pink, got to be mindful of those narcissists who indulge in creating doubt in someone else's instincts when they express them. Narcissists, oh, bless them. I could talk about narcissists all day. I write about narcissists. If you struggle with narcissists, often, not in all cases, it's highly likely that you are an empath. Empaths and narcissists go together like bread and jam. What else goes together? Like honey and milk, like fill in the gaps. If you are someone, listen, my biggest lessons have come from dating narcissists. What I would say to you, if you often find yourself in narcissistic relationships, one-way relationships where you give your all and end up with sawdust, what I would say to you, trusting your instincts is fundamental. Trust your instincts, because that is the clue. However, like I said before, for so many of us, trusting in our instincts is a problem, because sometimes we don't like what our instincts are telling us. Sometimes we're scared of being alone. Sometimes we're scared of finding our voice. And that's the true issue, finding your voice. Some of us don't speak up. Some of us go inwards. And that's another reason how we get anxiety, because we go inwards, and then what does it do? We bottle it all up. When we bottle it all up, where does it go? It has nowhere to go. And that's how it starts to express itself as anxiety. This is what's going on. When we bottle things up, this is why people have things called IBS. This is how Crohn's disease, as I see it, is also developed, because you are holding it all in. I call it like an emotional constipation. This is why you need to get things off your chest, because it needs to be released. This is my viewpoint. If this makes sense to you, please let me know. Inbox your girl Key, psychotherapist in private practice. People come to see me when they've gone to the mainstream places, when the Gucci belt and the Range Rover is no longer working for them, and they're like, you know what? I need to speak to somebody. I need to try to make sense of what's going on in my life. Narcs try to manipulate me, but their time with me is very short. Well, I think one of the things I find fascinating about is the seduction process with narcissists. Let's have it. Like, people with narcissistic traits are seductionists. They are brilliant at it, and I've fallen for it a few times. Let's not pretend we're not human here. Their seduction process is legendary. This is one of the reasons why, when the relationship's bad, we keep going on about how great it was in the beginning, because of that was when the emotional tie happened. So we have to be realistic about the seduction process of narcissists. And if anybody is interested in the art of seduction, that usually is a fundamental aspect of any of intimate relationships with narcissistic individuals, please inbox me, because the seduction process is how we get brought in. Because the reason why we stay often in narcissistic relationships is because we live in hope of how it was in the good days. It was so good in the beginning. You fell head over heels in love, but usually it's very quick and it's very fast. That's how it becomes the roller coaster of the relationship. So you have the extreme highs followed by the extreme lows. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, give your girl a heart, because I know it ain't easy out here. Eve Comboy, only learned this recently, since the tender age of 49. So many wasted years trying to not hurt people, when the truth was I was hurting myself more than anyone. The only person who can truly make you happy is you. Be selfish. It's your happiness or theirs. Simple truths right there, Eve. Simple truths. And I'm listening to a book at the moment on Amazon called The Shadow Effect. And basically what it's talking about is that you have to have the right mix, the right balance of everything in life. Too much of anything is never good. So it's about, you might want to be selfless, but can you balance that with being selfish? And I have a video on my YouTube channel, Key for Change. Check it out on YouTube. Just hit 1,000 subscribers. Big deal. Big deal for me. I talk about the importance of healthy selfishness, because one of the biggest barriers, and it comes up in therapy time and time again, is people who have often given, let's be having it, the people who tend to come to therapy are often highly empathic, highly sensitive people who are baffled why being a caring, considerate person in the world seems to harm them. They're baffled, like, how come I have a good heart, I have good intentions, but people violate me? Your girl Key helps people. I help people to sort that out. Often it's because we're a highly sensitive people. We may well have poor boundaries, and naturally people violate. So one of the challenges is to bring healthy selfishness into your life. And one way you can practice healthy selfishness is by saying no. Simple act. Learning to say no. But the challenge for many of us if we've been yes people, like Churchill the dog, yes people, what happens is when we say no to the people, they will have a massive problem with you because that's not the you that they subscribe to. They subscribe to the you that was a yes person. So when you decide you're now going to say no, they're going to call you names like Eve said. They're going to call you names like selfish. And that is highly likely to be difficult for you. This is why I handhold my clients through this process so that they are best prepared for it. Because often if you're a yes person and you decide to make changes, there will be relationship casualties and it will hurt. It will hurt you because some of the same people that told you to come to therapy, when you start to change and the change impacts on them, they may not like it. It's the reality of life. But hey ho, we've got to name these things because the truth will free you. It may piss people off first, but it will free you. Claire, separate feelings from the person. Best thing ever, no. Yes, Shah, one of the best is just to say no. For many of us, we've often said yes. And this saying yes, and if you're someone who tends to give and not get back in return, when you say yes, this is where the resentment builds up. And that's where bitterness can build up. And this is why we have to be very careful. How do we honor ourselves? Honoring ourselves. Anita, saying no is so empowering. If they're worth keeping in your life, then they will be okay with that. Because they don't take you for granted. Most definitely. We want people who are there with us through the highs and lows of life. Just recently, I've had to walk away from a friendship where I just felt like, you know what, actually, what does this person do for me? If my back's against the wall, I can't turn to them. I really had to do an audit and just consider about a person's value in my life. And actually, there was limited value. Well, actually, there was very limited value. And so I've made a choice to let that go. And I'm okay with that because so many of us are holding on. You know, when you see that the nails in the wall in them films, like nails holding on, sister, free yourself. Sometimes we got to let it go. Don't let shame keep you in situations that are holding you in pain. I'm going to say that again because it rhymed. Don't let shame keep you in situations that make you feel pain. It's no good for you. I am a believer that you can heal yourself. I believe I teach people here how to be their own best friend because often a lot of us are making choices to allow people into our life that we instinctively know ain't good for us. However, we choose to hold on because you fill in the gaps, scared of being alone, scared of shame. We hold on to situations that don't work for us. And I'm here to tell you that trusting in your instincts can be scary. Sometimes I feel like my life can be a little bit boring because I don't keep going down the same road every time. However, my life, what I've realized is that there's a calmness. There's a steady and calmness to my life. Whereas before, so don't be seduced by the part of your brain that tells you, oh, you're boring, you're boring, you're boring. No, because the opposite was to do the excitement life, especially if you like excitement, man. Ladies, if you're out there watching, gentlemen, if you like people full of excitement, give your girl Key a heart, give your girl Key a like. I'm here to tell you as it is. If you like excitement in your life, then you're guaranteed a bit of depression in your life because you have the extreme highs followed by the extreme lows. And how low it goes for you, God only knows. But I do believe that there is value in rock bottom. Sometimes we've just got to go around we've got to go around the fairground. You know, some of us, we've got to learn the hard way. That's how I learned. I learned the hard way. So I am an advocate of having experience. However, you may get to a point in your life when you want to start acting wisely. Just because, you know, some of us are a victim of our feelings. So because we care about someone or because we love someone, some of us are victims to that. Sometimes you can love someone, it don't mean you should be with them. It don't mean they're good for you. Sometimes you have to love from a distance. Sometimes you need to give people a wide berth. You need to stay far. Having them close to you is not good for you. But some of us find that a difficult truth to accept. So you defy your instincts and you carry on. And it hurts like hell. If anybody knows the Waiting to Excel album, Hurts Like Hell. I think that was sung by Aretha Franklin. Boom tune. If you're in a relationship and you're playing songs like that, you're in a mayhem relationship. We ain't got time for mayhem relationships. There's enough mayhem going out in the world. We want it nice and steady. Nice and steady. Sharping. My circle is so small right now. No ripples. I thought you said no nipples. Yeah. Is it Deneo did a song called No Snakes in My Circle or something like that? Boom tune. Shah, I swear you could do me a mix for that. Pampoodle, it's not an easy road. Team Buju, it's not an easy road. It far is not an easy road. You know, and I'm here to tell you, some of us need to understand the choices that we have. Neither one of them are easy. Some of us think, oh, it's hard, oh, it's long. It is long. It's a bit like training to become a psychotherapist. Yeah, it was long. It was very long. But you know what? Here I am, 20 years later. I'm glad I made the sacrifice. I never thought about it as being like a 20-year thing. It didn't take me 20 years to qualify. But yes, it's been a long road. But you know what? In my 40s, I'm reaping the benefits of my sacrifice from yesteryear. So sometimes you have to sow in your dream little by little by little. And if you have a dream, my encouragement to you is to think whether you can make a living from your dream. In addition, does your dream give your life purpose and meaning? Because we know purpose and meaning are fundamental to our mental health. Often when people are depressed, anxious, have a raft of mental health problems, there's often a lack of purpose and meaning in their life. This is why even through lockdown, I have sustained a routine. Some of us ain't got no routine. We've been furloughed, you're getting out of bed, watching Netflix, you know, every documentary on Netflix. Some of us need to burn a fire on Netflix, put on your shoes and pound some pavement and start moving around. Because it's not good for you to sit there binge. You know what I find really interesting is binging is not considered to be a good thing. Whether you're binge eating, it's not considered to be good. But for some reason, they're telling us binge watching is a good thing. Binge watching is not good for you. It's not good for you. Remember, when you're sit there watching television, you're just consuming. Your mind, your imagination is not being activated. So be careful sitting there Netflix binging, because you need to, humans weren't made to just sit down and watch television. Go out and explore, do something with yourself. This is one of the reasons why having purpose and meaning is so fundamental to your life. It's not an easy road. Kudos. Claire, human body needs to keep moving. We need to keep moving, most definitely. And there are lots of traps out there. Tonight, I've just spoken about one specific area, which is about the importance of trusting your instincts. If, like me, you're tired, like many years ago, I never trusted my instincts. My Inspector Clouseau hat used to go on, and I used to try to find evidence to prove me right. I no longer do that to myself. I trust my instincts, and if I continuously see signs that are problematic, red flags, then I remove myself from situations, because I have to learn to be my own best friend. The reality is, for so many of us, we do not trust in our instincts. We trust in the lies and the words of other people, and as such, we deny ourselves, we ignore our own wisdom, and we go on the path that they take us on. Why? Because we allow it. And for some of us, it is incredibly humiliating and difficult when we realize we always knew. We always knew, but we just didn't trust and believe in our instincts. I've been there. It happens to lots of us. There's no shame in the game. The crucial thing is, how do you learn from it? Claire, Chic, and ye shall find. It's your girl Key. It is coming up to 11 already. Have I literally been in an hour? I can chat a lot. I hope this video may have been helpful to somebody out there. If you'd like to learn more, feel free to inbox me. I'm happy to have a discussion, because it is not easy out there. In addition, you can also catch me on my next Pain into Purpose, my online course designed to help you to understand exactly what you're doing and why life hurts you. It's your girl, Keely Taverner, psychotherapist. Remember, Do take care of you, because if you don't, no one's coming to save you. You have to learn to save yourself, and that's the reality. Take care of you, because if you don't, who will?